wonder where Mitch is. Okay, he's got to be here.
Zach! I'm right here.
Mitch?
Hi, friends!
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
Presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, Mitch, I think we're doing a podcast.
You know what else I think? I think I heard some knocking.
Oh, yeah. I think we did hear a little bit of knocking.
We
there
did,
just a second
yeah.
ago. But, yep, we are here to talk about A Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, Knock at the Cabin studio brought to you by Universal, directed by your favorite M. Night Shyamalan. Written by M. Night Shyamalan, Steve Desmond, and Michael Sherman. Summary. While vacationing... Oh, wait. I got a little too ahead of myself.
No,
I heard
good.
some knocking.
You're good.
What'd you think? What'd you think? Of the directing / screenwriting duo.
So I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, but it always seems like M. Night Shyamalan, he either makes like a really great, fantastic movie, or he really just doesn't and misses by a mile.
It's more than a mile.
It usually is more than a mile. Yes.
It's like a football field.
However, this is, I think, one of his most middle, like, it's not a complete success, but not a total failure kind of a movie, kind of a way.
Okay.
But in terms of directing, I think it's one of his worst that he's directed.
Okay.
From a directing standpoint.
So I will agree. It's in the middle portion of his work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's one of the worst.
No.
But it's in the middle of the pack. It's
Okay.
not Last Airbender, y'all.
Oh,
It is
well, yeah.
It is not The Last Airbender. But it's also not Sixth Sense. It's not even close to like Signs or Unbreakable or Split. But I would rate it around the same as the third one in that trilogy, Glass. I would rate it a little bit around that area because Glass was not that great of a movie.
Yeah, no, it was not. But what did you think of the script too? I'm kind of interested to hear what you thought about that.
I mean, I appreciated the script.
Okay.
I really did. I loved the tone that it set. I loved the themes it had.
Okay.
I can't really get too much into it because, we're not in that section just yet. But I appreciated the script more than I actually appreciated more of the directing style. Because the trailer had... I appreciated the dialogue that I noticed in the trailer. And that's what's like... I'm like, okay, I want to see this movie.
Yeah.
This I didn't really care for the directing style of it. But the dialogue for me and the actual... writing process, I could tell, was what really wanted me to go see the movie.
Gotcha. Yeah. I thought script wise, it had great moments. There left a little bit more to be desired in some specific areas that it was having, but overall, I think it was like a decently good script.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So summary time after I heard some knocking. While vacationing, a girl and her parents are taken hostage by armed strangers who demand that the family make a choice to avert the apocalypse. Yeah. All right, Zach. So why don't you give your thoughts?
All right. So it's it's really just there as a movie. Like I came into it a little bit excited. Like the hook and premise of this is very interesting.
Right.
The trailer is so simple, but it got me into the theater, and I was really excited to see what was in store for it.
Sure.
But I came out of it as so middle ground as I've ever came out of a movie in the last couple years that I remember.
Okay.
I came out satisfied yet dissatisfied.
Yeah.
It was so weird. I just really didn't really have anything really to say other than I saw Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because there were really good moments in the film. But I feel like this may have been a poor marketing from Universal because it really, because a lot of people were describing this as his next horror/thriller film.
Okay.
Not even close to horror.
Yeah.
Wasn't really thriller-esque.
No.
And I'm with you. I don't really know how to feel about this movie, to be honest, with everybody that's watching right now. I don't. It's hard because that's typical M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Especially lately, because what was that one movie he made in 2021? Old or
yeah. Uh-huh.
I heard that got one of the most mixed responses out of anything he's ever made.
Yeah.
And I feel M. Night Shyamalan is starting to develop this ego about him. I feel because everyone wants to work with him.
Yeah.
And every studio wants him to develop at least some kind of weird film.
Yeah.
Like Disney worked with him with like Unbreakable and Split and all them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just M. Night Shyamalan just needs to really look at some of his recent work.
Yeah.
And not with an ego glass.
Sure.
It's with a critic glass because it's just a lot of his stuff is just not there anymore.
Sure.
All right.
But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about some cast performances.
Yeah.
I think that's where some of this movie really shines.
I
is
will
in
agree.
The performances.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and start with Dave Bautista's Leonard.
I loved him in this film.
Yeah, I would love to hear what you actually have to say totally about him.
He is now no longer just Drax.
Oh yeah.
He's got acting chops.
Mm-hmm.
I consider him out of all like the wrestlers or boxers or whatever turned actors.
Mm-hmm.
This is purely my opinion. Dave Bautista is the best.
Really? Okay.
In my humble opinion.
Okay, for sure.
Because I'm not a John Cena fan.
Yeah.
I know you're a fan of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but we all saw Black Adam.
But his performance wasn't the thing that killed it for me on that. No? You didn't like his performance at all in that?
I told you in the review that I did not like it. But I think Dave Bautista is so much better in terms of like acting quality, in terms of came from wrestlers too. But
no, I get you, and I agree to a certain extent what you're saying.
Okay.
Like, yes, he is definitely better, in my opinion, than John Cena. Not saying that John Cena is like the worst of the worst.
He's pretty bad.
He's growing, and like he's actually doing like kind of decent in comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best, but like you can see that there's growth with him.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave Bautista is really making a name for himself as an actor. And I agree. This one is kind of where you really get to see a lot more of his acting chops, because a lot of the other roles that he's really been taking on has more so been like the henchman, like in like Spectre. He was just kind of like played like a henchman dude in Guardians.
Or in Guardians where he is so still.
Yeah. Like he just kind of has played like these like really kind of just buff dudes just to be buff. This one, like he actually had some heart, some layers, some like things that he actually tried to pour into this role.
Sure.
And it came across on screen, which I really enjoyed.
All right. So the next cast member is Ben Aldridge as Daddy Andrew.
I thought his performance was very good, quote unquote. Like there wasn't anything necessarily like bad about the performance. I liked his commitment. All of his commitments were like really great to see. But in terms of like whenever there was like a whole lot of heart, it was not as well. It was kind of like a little bit missing for me. So like when it really gets to like really the apex of this movie and it's really yearning and whatnot, I can feel like a little bit of the heart, but it wasn't as much there. So like out of the cast, he definitely wasn't the weakest, and he still put on like a pretty good performance, but nothing that shot me over the heights of like amazing and wonderful. But what did you think about his performance?
He was fine.
Okay.
And that's what I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
He was fine because a lot of my opinion I have to save for spoilers.
Gotcha. Okay.
But he was fine. He didn't do great. He didn't do bad. He was fine.
Okay. Well, what did you think about Jonathan Groff?
I loved him in this one.
Okay, gotcha.
But then again, I love Jonathan Groff and anything he does, especially Hamilton. Da, 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 da,
I'm a Spring Awakening dude myself, but yes, we always do love a bit of King George III, don't we?
No, but I really like Jonathan Groff.
Okay.
He was very, very good. What'd you think of him?
So I don't think it's his best role that he's done. He still did pretty good. I enjoyed seeing him on screen. I was really happy to see him on screen and in a big role like this, and not as a voiceover or anything. Like I was really happy to actually see Jonathan Groff play somebody in a movie.
Sure.
However, I felt his peppiness of the character just kind of didn't really suit the story that they were trying to tell. And I get what they were trying to go for in the story and whatnot, and have kind of more the antagonistic versus the positive of a relationship, and you usually have that in every relationship. You have more of the optimist and the the friend that really is not as optimistic. But it,
hence our partnership sometimes.
But it was kind of played up a little bit more than what I thought was realistic for the world that they were trying to create. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed his performance, and I still enjoyed the levity that some of his stuff brought, and the brightness, but it just kind of felt a little off with the tone.
Okay. Overall, you would say the cast is a bright spot.
It's still a bright spot overall. Like, there wasn't really like a singular bad performance that really kind of sparked off. I'm not going to lie, the younger actress kind of looked at the camera a couple of times throughout the film, which I was like, oh, darn it. But she still had a decent part. So like, I'm not going to say like any of the cast did bad in this. There really weren't any bad performances.
So now we're going to go into some non-spoilerly things. And the first thing up is the themes, or not the themes, the setting of this film. The setting is pretty much, it says it in the title. It's in a cabin.
Ta-da!
Yeah, but I really liked the claustrophobia that some people have when you're at a cabin in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Because obviously, in the middle of the woods, it's a little bit more open.
Sure.
But the cabin it brought a sense of, as I mentioned earlier, claustrophobia.
Sure.
I mean, anything, like, it felt so tight. It felt so condensed. And I'm like, ooh, like, it made me feel a little uncomfortable.
Sure.
At times. But what'd you think of the setting?
Well, I'm a forest guy personally. I love nature. Like, if I had to pick like where I would be for a vacation, it would be kind of among the elements, whether like on a cruise in the ocean or in a cabin in a forest. So I like the aesthetic of it. However, I feel like the cabin wasn't used really to its full potential. We really didn't get a lot into the forest. We really only stayed in one specific spot in the cabin.
Yeah.
You could see that there were a couple rooms in the cabin, not a whole lot of rooms, but a couple, and as well a basement. We rarely touched any of those.
We never went into the basement. Not that I'm aware of.
Just once we did, but I won't spoiler why we went into the basement, but we did go into the basement once, but it was very lightly touched upon. So I feel like the cabin was so underused that I think we could have gotten a whole lot more out of it. And especially with what interesting characters that we had to build on, I think we could have used those different rooms to separate our characters and kind of get to know more about each of the characters a little more.
Okay.
So I think that could have been a way that we could have separated them and kind of get a little more insight into each of these characters.
Yeah. So then last one is the themes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
There are quite a bit of themes here, but the two heavy hitters of the themes are really, well, three, is the biblical aspect, the gay marriage aspect, and the mental illness aspect. It has a lot to say. It has not a lot. It has a decent amount to say about each.
And today's society too.
It really, the gay marriage one, I feel like is the one that kind of creeps out the most out of all of them.
I will agree.
But admittedly, if you go ahead and watch this trailer and you see a family of two gay men and their daughter strapped up to a chair with four people looking down on them with weapons, you would be trepidatious. And I'm not gonna lie, you would at first be like, what the hell's going on?
You're going to think the worst.
However, while that theme is hit upon a little bit later in the movie, it's still explained well and handled well to the point where I don't feel like this is homophobic or in any way or homophobic in intention.
I would agree.
But they do acknowledge it, which I also think was smart of them to do. What did you think of the themes in this one?
Well, I have a history of these videos of spoiling things, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut on this one.
For sure.
I am, because I have a lot to say about these themes, but I really want to save them for the spoiler section.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've finished our non-spoiler section. Mitch, is it okay if I go ahead and just kick off what I review of the movie?
I thought I started.
Oh, you're right. That's right, my friend. You're right, Mitch. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. What did you, Mitch Fish, think of the movie of Knock at the Cabin?
This is tough. This I'm going to put on the low, needs to cook a little more.
Gotcha.
Because like I mentioned, there are good parts of the film.
Yeah.
The cast is good. Mm-hmm. The themes are good. This needs a director change. And it needs a script writer change. This should not have been an M. Night Shyamalan film. This should have been directed by someone that is a lot more capable of making a project like this. This should not have been an M. Night Shyamalan film. And the reason why I say that is because M. Night Shyamalan makes these horror/thriller films with twists at the end. Mm-hmm. None of that was there.
Yeah.
So I just feel like this needed a director change.
Yeah. Mitch, you took the words directly out of my mouth. This is definitely to me, this actually is a quintessential cook a little more. This is a textbook example of it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this movie would have benefited so much without M. Night Shyamalan. Mm-hmm. He is known for his twists. There were twists in here, but none to the point where you would be like, this is very stereotypical M. Night Shyamalan kind of a twist. Don't be expecting this big, huge altering twist. It's
not there.
It's not there. It's not coming.
And I was expecting one.
And I'm not going to say that like the ending, like we're not trying to say like, we're not trying to spoil the ending of this. Like
sure.
It is definitely are they right? Are they not? Is it an apocalypse movie? But like, that is what it ultimately comes down to. Do you believe that the apocalypse is happening and the choice that needs to be made is what's going to set it apart and stop it? Or are they incorrect? Like it's one or the other. And that's the thing. I feel like with as small of a cast as you could have had and an idea of the cabin and how many locales the cabin offers you could have done so much more as a script writer to isolate characters and find out more about some of these characters. I would have really loved to find out more about a lot of these characters before the entire situations go down. And how they go about into our main family's life. I thought like the script did a terrible job of interjecting the past. I thought they did absolutely terrible with it. So, not saying like the past helped like inform the decisions of how they went, but it was, they inserted it at the wrong times of this movie.
Yeah,
it was abysmal. Yeah.
So there's our review. Before we head to our spoiler section, go ahead and email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com. Leave us a like, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, or hit that notification bell. We're headed into the spoiler section, so here's the alarm.
Yep, that's our spoiler section, my friends. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you do want to go ahead and subscribe, please do so. But we are now getting into our spoiler section. So Mitch, what would you like to start off for our spoiler section?
The four horsemen of the apocalypse. So
okay,
every single one of them has something to do. But really, they did it so near poorly.
I think the idea of it was a solid idea.
Yeah, all 4 characters that Zach mentioned was the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Like Leonard was, I don't even remember what they were because they were that forgettable.
Yeah.
If the characters were more believable and rememberable, if that's even a word, I would remember them.
Well, and that's what I meant. If they would have just allowed so much more time, especially with like Rupert Grint's character, like if
he dies early.
He dies early, but like if we would have spent so much more time individually with some of these like horsemen, it would have helped so much. And the scene that really like I wish that we had a whole lot more of was when Jonathan Groff's character and the nurse character were in the room and she was treating his wound in the bathroom. Those kind of scenes should have happened more with each of the horsemen.
Well, and some maybe more backstory with the horseman characters too, because you see a shot.
I don't think I need as much backstory, or maybe
I would have
I
would have wanted a little bit. I wanted a little bit more.
Maybe a little bit more because as each of them are about to be executed, they kind of let out like their big like this is why I'm here kind of thing. Maybe have that be like the scene, like you are with. Because we got that with Leonard with the grasshoppers, and we got that with the nurse with Jonathan Groff. But we didn't really get them alone with the other dad character, and we didn't get them alone with either Rupert Grint's character or really. We kind of got it alone with like the breakfast with Wen, but that wasn't as impactful. It was just like a 2-second scene, and they were back. Like it really just kind of hurt that we really didn't know much about these horsemen for us to actually care, so that when they did eventually die, you really don't feel the gravity of the situation really until you see the news report.
Yeah. But, at the end, the family does make a choice, and Andrew kills Eric.
Which was the only obvious thing that was going to happen.
Because Eric started believing them not right from the start, but he believes them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And Andrew was in denial, thinking that they were sick, they needed help. But Eric was adamant, like, no, this is real.
Yeah.
We got to make a choice. And Eric made everyone says like they sacrificed him. Eric sacrificed himself. Like he says, no, let me be the one that dies because, you can take care of our daughter and let me remember this life happy as a dad. And not just saving the life of his daughter and his husband, but the rest of the world.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
Well, and I will say that's where I feel like just make sure Ben Aldrich really showcased a lot more like potential in his character. I feel like that was his kind of strongest scene was when like the two of them are talking and he's like, no, just come. I'd rather us just be the three. Like. He gave a genuine strong performance there, which is why I was at least a little more kind, at least in my review of him, a little bit more. Otherwise, it would have been I wouldn't have really cared for his performance. But I feel specifically for when it comes to that decision, that was so cut and dry. It was obvious that it was going to be Eric to die from the beginning. But one thing that I do have a criticism on is actually there a little bit of world building. They said all three had to come to that decision.
The daughter had nothing to do with that decision.
She had nothing to do with that decision whatsoever. Whenever there was anything that had to do with the decision, she was always looking away, always doing. I was like,
you got to include her.
You got to include her. And I was like, well, I kind of want to get a young child's perspective on what's all going on with this a little bit. And it made it so much, it detracted and took me out of the story because I was like, well, there she goes again.
Yeah.
She doesn't get a say. And I was like, obviously you're not going to kill her. Like she was not going to be the one that was going to be sacrificed, but I would have liked to hear like which she thought would have been like a good choice. Like, come on.
Yeah. But the last thing is the biblical aspects of it. It really has to deal with, a lot of the apocalyptic deals with religion, they always deal with like a family's choice.
Yeah, I mean, whether it comes to like Abraham and Isaac or,
Moses and his mom putting him in the river and, God sacrificing Jesus.
Yeah, like the whole sacrificing in the name of God, is been across all religions, but Christianity has definitely had its fair share, and that's where a lot of its mythology of this movie has come through. So it's very obvious in this one.
Yeah. So that's Knock at the Cabin.
That's Knock at the Cabin, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you add a like to us. Make sure you leave a comment or ring that notification icon. Please subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. Or email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com.
And for God's sake,
we just would love to hear from you.
And I'm just tired of talking about M. Night Shyamalan. So but next is what's next for our? Is it?
We get to go smaller, but bigger, but smaller.
No, it's Magic Mike.
Oh no! Oh, we're going. Oh God. Okay.
So
you're right. On that time, my friends. I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch,
and we are an excellent little podcast.